Welcome to Lessons in Progress,
the podcast where growth is messy,
lessons are ongoing,
and perfection is not the goal.
I am your host, Jessie
and Alicia.
We are back for episode 2. We're super excited to get into the episode today. So we also heard their feedback, Leash.
Lots of feedback.
So what did we do? How did we fix it?
We adjusted the mics. We kind of realized that we messed up with syncing our audio. So we sunk the camera audio, and that's why it sounded like it came from the camera. So we are all lessons in progress. We are going to make sure this audio is set so it sounds like you're listening to a podcast.
Yes. So we also appreciate the feedback. Obviously, we're just getting started and we've never done podcasting or techie stuff before. So be patient. But yeah, we're excited to get into today's episode and also it's going to be better. So
yes.
Here we go. Episode 2. So we thought that it could be fun, especially as you guys are getting to know us a little bit better, to start out each episode with some fun girly questions.
Yes.
So we have prepared just a couple questions that we're going to ask each other to start off our episode.
Sounds great. Perfect. All right. Let's see. What's your current comfort show or movie?
So my comfort movie has literally stayed the same for years and years and years. Cinderella Story with Hilary Duff and Chad Michael Murray. I've always loved that show. I don't know what it's like, that is my comfort movie. Like, if I just need a movie to have on after any type of day or just to feel good, that's what's going on. So that's my comfort movie.
Love it. Classic.
Yeah, it's been so good. Every time I watch it, I'm like, it never gets old. It's it's the best movie.
Yeah.
So that's mine.
Speaking of it, I'll need to rewatch that. It's been a minute.
So good.
It's been a minute.
If you haven't watched it, you guys, you have to watch it. I love it. It just makes you happy at the end.
It's the best.
It's just so cute.
It's the best. I love it. I love it.
All right, Lishi, what's a small joy that you've had this week?
All right, a small joy. I feel like we both are perfectionists. And so starting this podcast has been really fun for us, but it's also been really stressful because we are not techie girls. We literally are just looking up YouTube videos, figuring out things as we go. And it's been really stressful, right? When we figure out we got one thing set, then there's another problem that happens. And we're like, good God, can you please give us a break? And so my biggest joy this week was yesterday, and yesterday was rough, but yesterday we figured out the mic situation. We thought for a minute, we heard what we did wrong, and then we had to figure it out through the app, which was another pain. So it took us about 4 hours to just figure it out. But my joy is that we figured it out. We did it. We're doing hard things, and that's the joy that I have.
Yeah. Love it. Also, if you guys have done podcasting before and have any advice, you're welcome to put it in the comments. When we say we're not techie, we've never done this, we're not kidding. We have slideshows that we teach our kindergartners and we just have to hit the arrow. That's about as techie as we get. So this is for sure a learning curve for us. So just keep that in mind when you're watching. But I mean, we're proud of ourselves.
Yes.
And everything is a lesson in progress.
Period.
So we are.
Love it.
All right. So today's episode, I feel is not going to be necessarily as hee and fun and lively. But super, super important and something we briefly touched on in episode 1 and something we both dealt with and obviously very close to us. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into eating disorders this episode. Our stories, what they are, what they aren't. So
All right.
Here we go.
Well, I think we first want to just discuss what an eating disorder is. And I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to describing eating disorders. I feel like a lot of people will think of an eating disorder and they will think of anorexia,
Mhm,
which is when someone is well below the average weight for their height. They're restricting, they're not eating, or they're over exercising. And usually this person is like very, very small in a small body. And so I feel like a lot of people think of eating disorders and they think of anorexia. However, anorexia is actually one of the, like, smallest categories that it
mhm,
affects in the eating disordered world. And so although we can physically see that eating disorder a little bit more than the others, these other types of eating disorders, such as, like, binge eating disorder or bulimia, is actually a little bit more common.
mhm,
And so those are the different types of eating disorders. Bulimia obviously can be from like eating and physically making yourself throw up,
mhm.
um, or eating and then over exercising. So that one, and then usually the people that have bulimia are usually in the average size body
Yes.
oh, could be like any size body,
Yeah.
honestly. And then binge eating disorder, this is a hard one I feel like to diagnose and to talk about because I feel like people might, uh, throw the term like, "I binged, I overate,"
Mhm.
around, but it truly is like losing a sense of control, and you are so, like, consumed in eating, 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 you, like, kind of feel like you have, like, an outer body experience, and
Yeah.
you're not present, and it's kind of like it's not just, "Oh, I ate a cheeseburger and fries and a milkshake." It's like, I ate that, and then I went through the drive-through, and then I did this, and I did that, and so
Yeah.
it's intense, and a lot of it is, like, hidden behaviors too, like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna throw this garbage away before I come into the house, or I'm gonna put this here, and you're secretive, so that's kind of really big about, binge eating disorder as well. I know there's, another type of eating disorder, which is orthorexia, or type like, just with health, like, being very, specific with things that seem healthy, but you're so
Mhm.
obsessive with it, so that's another one, that kind of falls into that category.
Yes, and as the episode goes on too, we'll obviously touch, with what we're comfortable with, but touch on, like, what our personal story is and, like, where we fall in, like, what categories, but I think also it's really important to note that just because somebody might look to your eye like they're healthy,
Mhm.
does not mean that they're not struggling with an eating disorder. So I think that that's also super important. Like Leash had said, anorexia is usually, like, you can usually tell when someone's anorexic just by their physique. It's actually pretty terrifying. They're literally skin and bones, but that is usually the only one that you can see visibly, and you can only see that visibly with anorexia after it's been a while and, like, the effects of the disease are starting to be
Yes.
present.
Yes.
So I also, it is important. I think that a lot of people think, like, "Oh, well, they look fine," and, like, we'll get into it, but, like, it's not it's so much deeper
Yeah.
than how they look.
Yes.
So,
It is a mental illness at the end of the day, and so it's
yes.
not just something you're choosing to have because you feel, quote, unquote, "fat" or in a bigger
Mhm.
body. It is a mental illness, and so I think that's huge that you brought that up.
Yeah. So we also kind of wanted to touch on, like, which we briefly did, but, like, what an eating disorder is versus what it's not. Um, I am really, really sensitive to I mean, now that we're grown, it doesn't happen as often, but you heard a lot in college and high school, like, people almost joke and not make fun, but, like, just, like, kind of play around with, like, anorexia specifically,
Mhm.
so I just want, it to be, like, very, very clear. An eating disorder is not just skipping a meal or 2, and it is definitely not a joke to make with your friends. Like, I understand people are not trying to be insensitive when they're like, "Eh, I didn't have lunch today, I'm anorexic," but it's really insensitive for the people who have struggled with eating disorders because it's so much more than restrictive eating. It's a mental illness. Like, we'll get into that with our stories, but it's not just like, "Oh, I'm deciding I just don't wanna have lunch today." So, just be aware of that if you're someone that maybe used to joke about that, just, like, kind of put that in the back of your head that it's really a mental illness and it's not something to joke about. It's also not just a phase. I've heard people be like, "Oh, I'm just in my phase of
Restriction, yeah.
restriction," and I'm like, that like, eating disorders, it's not a phase. And a lot of this, I think when we illustrate with, like, our personal stories, you guys will be able to see a little bit more, like, exactly what we're talking about when we're saying what it is versus what it's not, but just like everything, I know it's when you haven't gone through it, especially with eating disorders, and I always tell this to people that I'm, like, talking to or, giving advice to, people who have not gone through an eating disorder, it's really, really hard to wrap their head around.
Yeah.
Like, even, like, my own parents who obviously are very supportive and have helped me, I mean, get to where I am today and with recovery and everything, like, I'll tell a story when it's my story portion, but, like, if you haven't gone through it or know someone who's gone through the entire process, 'cause it is like a not a cycle, hopefully, we're not repeating it,
Yeah.
but it is like a start to a finish, for, like, a full recovery. It literally doesn't make sense. Like, explaining it to somebody who doesn't deal with it or doesn't have a close relationship with someone who's dealt with it, like, I do understand it sounds kind of like, "Huh? You did
Mhm.
what?"
Mhm.
So, that's just there's a lot that goes into it,
Yeah.
and I do think, like, in society, it is one of the things that people kind of joke about,
Mhm.
and, eating disorders of any kind, whether it's binging or restricting, it's
It's
not a
still an
joke.
eating disorder. Yeah,
So,
it still consumes your life and everything that you're doing.
yes.
Um, all right, wonderful. We kind of already mentioned, like, the different types of eating disorders, and I'm sure there's more and more in the DSM-5 that they're kind of discovering, but I do really like how there is talk around all the different types of eating disorders because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, it is still consuming your everyday life. So whether that's restriction, whether that's overeating and binging, it is a thing that is controlling your life, who like who you can be around when you wanna hang out with people. It's like you have your eating disorder brain that controls this part of you, and then this other part of your brain, and you're constantly trying to fight it.
Where'd you get that from?
You and you're constantly trying to fight it. Mine's just like my cuckoo brain, but yes, the eating disorder brain, and you're
Mhm.
really trying to, like, always fight it, to be like,
Yes.
I wanna do this, but, like, I can't because I'm afraid because of this.
Yeah.
And you're making excuses for your eating disorder, and
Yep.
it is just it's a lot, and
Yeah.
so, like, just like we said, it really is a mental illness. It's not just something, that is tied to wanting to be a specific weight.
No.
Yeah.
No, and yeah, it goes so much deeper. So we're actually gonna get into, like, the depths of how deep it can go. Just a little, like, disclaimer, we are being, like, raw and vulnerable with our personal stories. Just one, I like to share my story in hopes that maybe somebody that is listening to this is going through something and, like, I can give that person some hope that, like, it does get better. But if you have anything, like, negative to say about my personal experience, just keep it to
Respectfully.
yourself. Like, because it's my story, everyone's story with all mental illnesses are different, so I just wanted to say we're being vulnerable because I think that there's, um I
Other
mean, vulnerability is strength, like, it's super powerful things can happen from really sharing your story, but obviously when you're posting this on the internet, we might get some haters and just keep it to yourself. Or, like, just be ready,
We're about to come right back
we'll
at
come
ya.
right back at you. Like,
Yeah,
this is not one of those that we're gonna have
play
this,
with.
like, lively conversation about.
Yeah.
So, that being said, um, I will go a little bit deeper into my story, so I actually, um, had my eating disorder really young. I was 12 when I first got diagnosed, and, um, I remember it starting as I was a gymnast growing up, and so I've always had, like, a very muscular build, and primarily, I've really strong legs, I still have strong legs, but when I was a little girl, my legs were, like, what my biggest insecurity, and I have a little sister that is equally as strong, but obviously has a different physique, especially when we are growing up. So I was a little bit more, built in a sense, and she was just like a little string bean. So I remember, like, looking at my body, looking at hers, comparing, and, yeah, I was like, "She has teeny tiny legs and I don't, so we gotta fix this." So I, of course, didn't say anything to my parents, didn't my sister, nobody. I It was around the time when, like, Special K was, like,
Weight
really this, like,
Watchers,
mountain
yeah.
coming, like, "Woohoo, join Special K." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do the Special K diet," 'cause there was, like, a diet plan, and I don't think my parents will catch on to this because we bought Special K cereal. Like, my sister and I just naturally
Y
liked
You
Special
liked it,
K.
yeah.
So, this was, like, the beginning of a really long journey. Obviously, at this point too, it was not a full eating disorder, it was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on a diet at 12." Like, what 12-year-old doesn't do that? Please, if you're 12, don't go on a diet.
Yeah,
But, like,
please.
when your body's changing and your hormones and stuff, like, I don't think it's that abnormal at this like, where I was at this point to be like, "Hmm, I don't like this, and let's see what we can do."
Mhm.
So but okay, so then I was like, "I'm gonna do this, Special K diet." Well, that just didn't really work. Um, yeah, it just was not doing it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do as quickly as I wanted it to do it. And, so I was like, "Okay, well, like, what else can we do?" But then this is where the eating disorder, like, kind of started to kick in, where it wasn't necessarily about a diet, it was obsessive. All I could think I was at school, I was at home, I was in the gym, like, all I could think about was my body and how much I hated it and how much I wanted to lose weight. Um, so then I don't exactly remember, like, when it went from, like, "Let's experiment with a Special K diet" to
The full
extreme restrictive, like, the full thing. But so I went from Special K diet to that wasn't doing it. So I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna eat 3 things a day. I don't care if it's an apple, a salad, and a piece of steak." For some reason in my brain, 3 was the magic number. At this point, I was still attending school, so I was like, "Oh, I can hide this from my parents, this'll be easy." So, started to do that and was, like, became very obsessive with that, where, like, if I was, like, super hungry, I would allow myself to have 4 things, but, like, then it was this, like, back and forth in your brain, and you're like, "What's going on?" So we did that for a little while, and then I started to recognize probably, like, "Okay, I think I might have, like, a problem. Like, this isn't." But I was like, "No, like, it's fine." Kind of in denial, and, like, no one was saying anything to me, so I was like, "Perfect." And that was also, like, this stage where, like, baggy sweatpants were kind of a thing. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
about in Chicago, but, like, in 6th and 7th grade, like, yeah, like, sweatsuits were, like, a thing. So it was
Yeah,
also, like, I was losing weight,
you could hide.
but I could hide it because I would just put on my sweatpants and I was
Mhm.
good to go.
Mhm.
And everyone was wearing sweatpants, so I didn't feel like I stood out,
Yeah.
and that's how I rationalized this to my parents, like, yeah, no, it's like a trend, like,
Yeah.
we're wearing sweatpants." So, we did that for a little while, and then I remember I went to my physical, um, in 7th grade, and I think I had lost, like, 7 pounds, which
Back
that's
then.
not yeah, like, I was, like, about my same height, and at this point, I think I had gone from, like, 105 to, like, 90 something. So my, pediatrician, of course, was like, "Oh, have you been, like, eating?" And I'm like, "Yep, mhm." And she's like, "Okay, weird." And then she's like, "Well, we're gonna test your thyroid. Maybe you have a hyperactive thyroid." Also, if you have an eating disorder, you love all of these excuses. Like, you're like, "Oh, yeah, take the,
It's a thyroid.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, take it's not me, I'm not doing anything, it's my thyroid." Well, my thyroid was fine, we tested it, I knew it was fine. So I was like, "Okay, that's a little bit strange." Um, and then and then I went on a family trip to Iowa. With my pediatrician was kinda like, "Well, we'll just, like, watch," and, like, kind of told my mom, like, "Look out for some things." But we went on a family trip to Iowa, and actually one of my cousins, older, she had had anorexia as well. So, she was watching my eating habits, and it's like a look, like, you can just tell, especially around mealtime, someone who's sick, like, they're just, like, in their head, and you can tell they're just thinking and thinking and trying to be like, "If I have this now, then I'll do this later, and then I can do." And so anyway, so she had noticed that, and so some point during the trip, she walked over to my mom and was like, "Does Jessie have an eating disorder?" And my mom was like, like, we kinda thought about that, but, like, we don't know right now."
Yeah.
And then my cousin was like, "Well, like, this is what I'm seeing, yada, yada." So, we come back, and now at this point, it's, like, full blown, um, I look like a bone rack, like, it's like a rotisserie chicken, with, like, their little things, like, poking out, like, those were my ribs. My collarbone, you could see everything, the bones in my chest you could see. Um, my cheekbones were, like,
Sunken in?
protruded yeah, like, well,
Oh,
just, like,
yeah.
I had no extra, no nothing. And I was also still in gymnastics at this point, and I kept falling on my head because I didn't have enough strength. So even my coaches at this point, like, I couldn't hide this anymore. I'm also in a leotard. Leotards are skin tight, mine was not. And you're in a leotard, you can't hide anything, so I could hide it in my sweats, I couldn't hide it at the
Yeah.
gym. So then I think it was, like there was a lot of talking about this with, like, all the adults in my life, behind my back, but, like, obviously to benefit me. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in, Wendy Hoyt, she was my psychologist,
Mm.
and I actually loved her. But I'm sitting in this office, and it's, like, eating disorder posters all around the room, and I'm like, "What's going on?" Both my parents are with me, and I see this girl walk out of her office. Um, like, textbook definition of anorexic
Anorexia.
physique, right? Like, bone rack, no fat, like, sunken cheekbones, everything's. And I looked at my dad and I was like, "Oh, she looks horrible. Like, she looks really sick." And he was like, "Honey,
You look like
you
that.
look like that." So anyway, started therapy, also had a dietitian. If you know, you know. Eating disorder patients hate their dietitian. I obviously am very thankful for her because she saved my life, but this was, like, a long, 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 journey. I was going to my psychology appointment, my pediatrician appointment, and at the beginning, 2 dietitian appointments a week. So I was not attending on a good week, I was going to school once a week because also, 1, I was always at the doctor, but 2, when you're not eating, you have no energy. So I was sleeping all the
Yeah.
time. Um, and you turn off your hunger signals, so I literally taught my brain to not feel hunger because that's the only way that you can do this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Um, so years and years and years of therapy and going to my dietitian, but my turning point was, I was sitting in my dietitian's office. At this point, I was probably 13, it was probably, like, a year later. Still, like, we're gaining weight, but when I'm saying weight, like, we're talking about ounces a time. Like, this is not anything substantial. And, she had me do the, like, heart rate thing where you hold it and then open and as fast see how
Mhm.
fast your heart, like, pumps blood back to your hand. Well, mine took, like, an ungodly amount of time. I have a naturally low heart rate, but it was, like, really, really dropping. I think it's supposed to take, like, 30 seconds, and mine took, like, 2 minutes or something to come back full color, so that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I called my dad after that appointment, and I was like, "Dad, I'm scared." And he was like, "Scared of what?" And I was like, "I'm scared I'm gonna die." And so that was, like once I had that fear, I was like, "I do not wanna die." Like, this was like a fun little, like, "Ah, let's lose some weight" type of thing, like, that's gone way too far.
Yeah.
Now it's a whole mindset, I can't see my bones. That was, like, what turned it around for me. It got to a point where my top of my thigh was as big as I could do this on the top of my thigh. My waist was 17 inches. Um, it was scary. So
Yeah.
I was about the same height I am right now. I'm 5'5", and at my worst, I was 84 pounds. I'm 140 pounds right now.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
just to kind of, like, gauge that, 60 pounds. So I had been in therapy and all of that, and then around 16, around my sophomore year, I entered the next stage where you feel like you're kind of trusting your body again, food's not as scary, because there are certain foods that are like, that's that's scary for my brain, like, I can't eat that. Um, but we had kinda gotten over that, and then I entered the binge or part of this recovery journey, and like Alicia had mentioned earlier, it is, like, the most out of body, out of control, like, you have Ed over here and you have Jesse over here. They're not even trying to get along. Like, it's seriously like I would eat, like, a Costco muffin and then a bag of pot stickers and then a bag of nuts and then followed up with some yogurt, and then I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" Then by the time you realize what's happening, you feel sick because you've
Mhm.
eaten,
Mhm.
so much your stomach hurts.
Mhm.
Um And then that also transitioned for me into a small phase, thank God, I didn't go have this cycle for a long time, but, um, exercise excuse me, exercise bulimia. So I didn't purge the food, but I would go to the gym, sometimes for, like, 2 or 3 hours, and it was all cardio. Like,
Yeah.
I would just do, like, running for 5 miles and then go on the elliptical for another 3 and then go on the bike. So that happened, I would say I was in, like, the worst of that. Still going to therapy, obviously, through all of this, for probably 6 months of, like, really intense and then you have this guilt after all of this that you're like, "Why did I do that? That's not normal." So
Then
then
you
then
restrict.
you restrict the next day, but your body and brain are not trusting each other yet, so your hunger signals and cues and fullness cues are still kind of all over the place. So you restrict in the morning because 'cause you're like, "Well, I had 2,500 calories yesterday." But then you're starving, and because you've done the work to have your brain a little bit healthier, hunger signals are starting to come back, but fullness cues aren't there. So then it creates another then you binge again later that night, and then it's like this whole thing. So, I was going to therapy, so I was obviously getting, like, professional help. We had a food journal so that I could be just, like, a little bit more, like, aware, and then the last phase was making myself eat 3 meals a day, whether or not I was hungry. It was like, "Nope, you don't want to binge, so if you're not hungry when you wake up, just have a piece of toast with a banana, it doesn't have to be something big." And then we did that for, probably a year. It was just, like, meal times, like, I ate breakfast at 8, I had lunch at noon, I had my snack at 2, and I had dinner at 6. And, I had to eat, like, those were the times, and because I was so young, obviously, my parents had a lot more, input, which
Mhm.
honestly, thank God, because I'm really stubborn, and had I gone through this as an adult when they couldn't have been as hands-on, I just don't know the outcome, what that would've been. So then by the time I graduated high school, I was healthy enough to, um, go to college and do the things, and, now I've fully, like, overcome it. I actually am, like, super passionate about helping people that are on maybe still, like, the recovering side of it, and maybe one day we'll do something, with eating disorders. I was kinda scared to go into that world for a while just 'cause I wanted to make sure that I was healthy myself before venturing down into that, but yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
So, that was, like, my 6-year story kind of summed up in a few minutes,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Yeah, well, I
that's my
mean,
story.
when you've told me your story in the past, I've just been like, "Oh my gosh, you were in the thick of it." Young, puberty, 12, like, that is just
Mhm.
such a hard time in general, and I am just like, it's amazing how I've seen your relationship with food and working out in your body. Like, I would have never guessed you really had an eating disorder because you're so healed and you're so
Mhm.
grounded, which is, like, what everyone could wish for that
Right.
struggles with it. So,
Yeah.
that is huge, and you definitely have been a really big help. I'm trying to maybe I don't need to adjust that. Okay.
Yeah. We
Um,
make sure the mics are good.
I just wanna make sure, no hate,
Yeah.
okay? I'm gonna talk a little bit about my relationship with food and some disordered things that I've had with food and eating. Um, I personally I'm a middle child syndrome, got all the issues there. And I don't know why, I'm just a lot taller than, like, my sister and my brother. I mean, now my brother and I are, like, the same height, but as a kid, I was always taller and just bigger boned, and my sister was really petite and little and
Mhm.
blonde. And I would compare myself to her because I wanted to be like her, of course. She was my older sister, she was smart, I just wanted to follow in her footsteps. Um, but I definitely, like, had some issues with my body as a young child. I remember in elementary school having issues with my body. But like I kinda mentioned earlier, it's not just, my body image that has kind of went down this
Mhm.
disordered route. Um like I've mentioned in the other episode, I have anxiety, OCD, perfectionism, all of that ties hand in
Hand
hand
in
with
hand. Yep.
eating disorders. And so my kind of, part of my life where I realized things are kind of weird with food, was also in middle school. I was in 7th grade, and I started playing, softball, like competitive softball, and I always just played, like, in elementary school in 6th grade, just, like, on a regular team, like,
Mhm.
around us, and then I applied for this, or tried out for this travel team, and the travel team I tried out for was, like, really freaking good.
Mhm.
Like, I do not know how I made the team. The Coach Bill, shout out Coach Bill, he, like, took a little jump of faith in me and, like, was like, "She can learn, I can teach her, I know she can do it." And so, I kinda went from, like, this, like, amazing, pitcher when I was just playing around, like what is it called? It's not
Like
travel.
rec?
Rec, thank you.
Yeah.
For rec, and then I
Mhm.
got into, like, the travel world, and these girls have already been playing travel together
Yeah.
for, like, even in elementary school, like, 5th grade they started. And I was like, "I am not good." My anxiety was getting so high. I felt out of control. I was just constantly embarrassed about my performance. I really struggled. Like, as much as I loved softball and I loved learning, I could not do it. Like, my performance anxiety would always get in the way.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of where I started to recognize that I had, like, some issues with food, whether it was, like, I'm restricting, I'm over exercising, um, I I yeah, I didn't really struggle too much with, like, the binging or anything at the time.
Mhm.
But I kinda recognized it there, and then you get comments about, like especially because I was a girl who was a little bit bigger than the average like, than my average classmates, I guess, and I'm
Yeah.
taller, so then you start to get comments of like, "Oh, you look good, like, what have you been
Mhm.
doing?" And I'm
So
like,
it, like, feeds what you've been doing,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, I am looking good. Okay, yeah, like, I'm just gonna, like, make sure I don't eat this bread then
Mhm.
now. I'm just
Mhm.
gonna eat no bread instead." And so I
Which
kind
is not a thought a 12-year-old should have.
yeah,
Eat the
exactly.
damn bread.
Yeah.
Eat it.
Yes, yes, exactly, and that kind of spiraled into high school. I think I went through, like, times where I was really restrictive and over exercise. I'm not a runner, and I ran, like, 6 miles, and I remember, like, on my way to the gym one time, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm scared to eat ice cream," and ice cream is, like, my favorite food, okay? I
Mhm,
love it's my favorite treat, and I was like, "I'm scared to eat ice cream," and, like, that's also when I was like, "This is, like, kind of not okay." Like, I shouldn't be
mhm.
scared to eat something. Um, so I kind of, like, dabbled in that area, and then when I came to college, oh gosh, that
Freedom!
was, like, freedom of
Literally
everything.
where eating disorders strive.
Yes, and instead of, like, fully restricting, I ate everything. I was so stressed, all I could do to help, like, calm my body and feel like I was in control was food, and
Mhm.
so I used food as a coping mechanism, which a lot of people do,
Yeah.
and it just kind of it spiraled out of control. It was, like, really controlling my life. The fluctuations in my weight would be, like, 15 pounds in a year. It'd be, like which doesn't seem like crazy, or in a couple months, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like I would restrict, I'd be losing weight, and then I'd hit the spot where I'm like, "Okay, 15 pounds heavier," and then, like, I start working out again, I start restricting again, and I start doing this, and I
Yep.
hit a weight, and people are like, "You look good,"
Yeah.
and you're like, "Okay, I can keep it," and then you get stressed again and, it continues.
Yep.
Um, I also, like, didn't really know how much food was controlling, like, my life.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't until I moved down, for to start teaching in Salt Lake where I was like, "I am so unhappy." I've seen therapists for anxiety, and I was like, "They just are not understanding my brain." Like,
Yeah.
they're not. And I was like, "Do I have issues with food? Like, is this what's causing it?" And I remember I was, like, in February, I think it was on Valentine's Day, actually, Deanna, we can check. I, like, found this lady who specifies in, like, eating disordered anxiety, depression, all that kinda stuff, and I was, like messaged her like an SOS, like, "I need help, can you please get me in? Everything you say is, like, what you
Yeah.
specialize in is what I need."
Yeah.
And luckily she did, and I've been seeing her for, like, 4 years now, and it's been a cycle, like, I still
Mhm.
have those times where it's like, I wanna restrict, I don't wanna eat, I'm scared of some foods,
Mhm.
but because I truly know that I want to heal my relationship with food and my body, I have been working through this process of
Yeah.
intuitive eating and trusting myself, but it's been hard, like, in the midst of it, while I was in therapy, it got to the point where I would not exercise at all
Yep.
because would use it so much that I hated it, and I was like, "I'm never moving my body. I
Mhm.
can't do this healthy." And, like, saying, like, "I'm gonna eat whatever I want because I'm not restricting myself now."
Mhm.
And then you put on the maybe more weight, and your body doesn't trust you, so it's holding it on when you
Yep.
restrict again.
Yep.
And so it's, like it's a rough cycle. And then finally I've been able to, like, incorporate working out again. I get really stuck on numbers. I think anyone with eating disorders gets really stuck on numbers, whether it's, like, calories,
Yeah.
whether it's weights,
Mhm.
whether it's what you're doing in the gym, how many reps, like, you are
Yeah, like, I will not
counting.
stop
Yeah.
at 7, I will get 8 even
Yeah.
if it kills me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's like that weird thing in my mind, and I just remember my therapist I used to always have to track my workouts, every single thing. I'd have to turn my watch on, do this. If I didn't do it, it didn't count,
Mhm.
which I know is just a thing. I remember her being like, "'Kay, I want you to go do a walk and not turn your watch on." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, I don't think I can do that." And she's like, "On a scale of, like, 1 to 10." And I'm like, "That literally feels like a 9. Like, I
Yeah.
literally don't think I can do that."
Yeah, it's
It
scary.
was scary, but now, like, with moving my body now, I do not, to this day, turn on my watch
I can
to
vouch for
track.
that.
I do
She does
not
not.
track it. I do have an Oura ring, and so that kinda picks up activity, and I'll, like, confirm that I did the activity,
Yeah.
but I'm not, like, starting workouts. I'm not looking at it to be like, "I need to hit
How many
this."
calories?
Yes. "I
Yeah.
need to hit this calorie amount, and if I don't, I need to go upstairs or downstairs and,
Yeah.
go work out." Um, so that's kind of been my story. It's been a long, crazy journey, and there's been, like, some ups and downs for
Mhm.
sure. But yeah, my biggest thing is just trying to find peace with food. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to and we'll get into this in a minute, but, like,
Yeah.
I do not want to follow a diet and restrictive rules. Like, I am
Mm-mm.
so anti, like, "Nope, I'm not trying keto. Nope, I'm not
Yeah.
cutting out this." Like, it is not good for my brain, and I finally have learned that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and I've been able to see, like, the last few years of your journey, but you have come a long way, and I'm proud of you,
Thank
and
you.
Healing is hard, you guys, and any whatever you're trying to heal, like, healing is not easy, so I remember, like, we've had conversations where we're both in tears, and it's like, it'd be easier to just continue this because at least my brain knows what's
Mhm.
coming.
Mhm.
So, this is your little, like, push if you're struggling with eating disorders or disordered eating or really anything, like, recovery in any way, shape, or form is so worth it. Um, it's hard, but it is worth it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
just keep pushing.
Yes.
Um, alright, so one of the things that we actually, like, love to talk about outside of the podcast, but also, like, I guess when you have an eating disorder and you've recovered, like, intuitive eating is the funnest thing in the world because you're like, "I never thought I would be here again."
Yes.
So you had kind of touched on, like, "I'm not cutting this out, I'm not doing this diet, I'm not doing that," and that goes hand in hand, I would say, into intuitive eating, and, like, in my opinion, I think intuitive eating is, like, the best part of recovery. It's, like, allowing your brain to trust your body again and allowing yourself to have fun with food again, because for people who have eating disorders, food is scary. And, like, I don't mean just, like, like, "Oh, I'm a little s" like, it's scary. I remember when I was in the thick of it, I was at the grocery store with my dad, and it would take me I'm not kidding you, there would be bless my father's heart. There would be times where we'd be, walking up and down the grocery store for hours, like, hours,
Trying to pick out things that felt
trying to
safe.
pick it out. Well, and I also, like, I couldn't I couldn't decide what sounded good. And I will never forget, and he will never forget. I think we were on, like, hour and a half, and we had been like, "Wait, this could be good, and this could be good," and finally he looked at me, he's like, "Jesse, pick something, like, what's wrong with you?" Obviously, he didn't mean it badly, but he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I have a mental illness, dad. Like, food is terrifying for me. Something sounds good, but then my brain is telling me, like well, Ed over here is telling me all of the reasons that I shouldn't eat it."
Mhm.
And so to finally overcome those types of things and be able to, like, intuitively eat and eat what you want, when you want, how you want is, like,
Mhm.
so fun. I mean, I probably find more fun of it than the average person.
Well, you went through
I
the thick
mean,
of it, like,
my
you need to have
man
fun
is
with
like,
it.
"You talk about food a lot." Like,
You're
it's
like,
like
"It's
my biggest joy, like, sorry.
I've overcame this freaking hurdle,
Yes,
I will talk about it."
yes. So, yeah, I would say that it is, it's finally being able to, like, tune into your body and honoring what it truly wants and not categorizing food as, like, good and bad.
Yes. Oh gosh, that's so hard.
Yeah. So, like, the other day, I was like, "I want potato chips."
Ate potato
So I
chips?
went and ate them. I didn't eat the whole bag either. You eat until you're satisfied. Some days you want, like, a big green salad,
Yeah.
and so you eat it but it's I don't want a big green salad because it's healthy.
Your
I want
body
it
wants
because
it.
it sounds good,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
there's something in my body that's craving that,
Yeah.
and so one of the things that my dietitian had told me was, "When your body is craving something, it's usually because you're deficit
Mhm.
in whatever, like, food group that
Yep.
is, or, like, the vitamins and minerals in
Yep.
that food." So, yeah, that's my, like, biggest obviously, moving to Houston too, I think helped me intuitively eat, because like, the food in Houston is so good.
Mhm.
So, I was like, "No, I want, like, a taco from the taco truck because, like, that just sounds
Good.
really good."
Yes, and
So
I think what's so hard about intuitive eating, or at least, like, when I've been learning about it
Mhm.
in therapy, I am like, ugh, I literally am like, "How can someone intuitively eat?" Because while you're struggling with disordered eating and all that kinda stuff, you're going through the cycle of binge, purge, exercise,
Yep.
all of that, restrict. I am like, "How could someone trust themselves?" Like, if I intuitively ate, I would eat ice cream, donuts, chocolate, this, that. I'm like, "How do people do it?"
Right.
And then finally getting onto a schedule of, like, making myself eat 3 meals a day no matter what,
Yeah.
where my body and my hunger kind of have been able to, like, not be ravenous.
Right.
That's truly when I've been able to, like, put into practice, like, "Okay, I'm a little bit scared right now, but I'm gonna go eat this type of food, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna be really present with it." and I'm gonna listen to my hunger cues, and I'm gonna eat it, and it's gonna be okay. Or,
Yeah.
like, simple as, like, this fricking coffee. Like,
Shout out Sunroom.
Sunroom, sponsor us.
Please, please
We're
sponsor us.
near enough,
Be our first sponsor.
please. Like, I would get in my head about, like, I'm drinking this large iced coffee, I
Yeah.
know it has yada, yada, yada in it. I've ruined my day, and then it would start off like that, and then my whole day would be ruined,
Yeah.
you know? And so now it's, like, working through of, like, "Okay, I don't have this every day, and if, you know, I it's okay for me to drink this. I
Mhm.
enjoy it. It tastes good." And, like, being present with it and allowing myself to know that I can have
Yep.
it is the one thing. I'm not saying I can't have it. That's not that is what creates all of the disorderedness.
Right.
So being like, "Yeah, I want a sunroom today. I'm gonna
So
get
I'm gonna
one."
have it. Right.
It's been really healing, but
Yeah.
still on that journey, so there's ups and downs,
Yeah.
but yes, it's definitely
Well,
worth
and,
it.
like, one of the things we literally talked about yesterday during our workout was when you're intuitively eating, no 2 days are gonna look the same.
No.
Especially for women, like, during certain parts of your cycle, you're gonna be more hungry, and then certain parts you're gonna be less hungry. But also, we were doing our workout yesterday, and she was saying, like, "Okay, I'm been doing more intuitive eating and, like, listening to my body and stuff, but I just kinda feel like I'm low on energy." And I'm like, "But that's part of intuitively eating is sometimes you might not necessarily feel hunger, especially in people who have eating disorders." I'm still learning how to feel hunger like people who don't have eating disorders feel.
Mhm.
I usually get a headache, I don't always feel it in my stomach. Um, but also knowing, like, I might not feel hunger and however my body feels hunger, but I notice that I need more energy, so, like, I'm gonna add, like, a protein drink.
Yes, at
Um,
least something, like, having something in your body so it's not on the fight or flight of like, "Oh,
yes.
she's doing it again."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the really fun part of the intuitive eating is once your brain and body are connected again and your body can trust that it's going to get fed, you will feel, like, inside and out just, like, more stabilized and equal. Things will start to just, like, normalize, and you never think I mean, I've been telling her, "I promise, it's gonna happen, like, your body just has to trust."
Keep
And
feeding yourself, keep doing
yeah,
this,
and
like,
it
it will
does,
come
like,
around.
it's a slow process, like, it's a slow burn, but, it does,
Yeah.
like, it really does. So,
I I
yeah,
think with that, like, it is just possible, like, recovery in general is
yeah,
possible. I also think too, like, if you kind of are uh, in your brain about like, is something wrong? Is this a problem? Is this disordered? Like, should I reach out for help? Yes.
yeah,
Yes, that probably is your sign. Yeah, do
yeah,
it. You can find support there. And like our goal or hopefully later to come, we can bring on one of our
yes,
therapists that can kind of dive into eating disorders and just coping
mhm,
mechanisms and ways to navigate it a little bit more on a professional side, not
yeah,
just our story. But therapy is literally life-changing. I really believe anyone should go to it. You can always use someone to talk to. So, that's kind of where we're at with
yeah.
everything.
I agree. Just to kind of wrap up what we've been talking about and close us out a little bit, recovery in any mental illness, really truly gives you like freedom and recovery in specific to eating disorder. Just it feels exciting. It feels empowering. It makes life fun again to be like, I can go to a restaurant and have a girls' night and actually enjoy it and not be like shaking with anxiety. So, like I've said a few times, but like recovery is worth it. Keep fighting. Find people you can talk to. If something that either one of us has said like resonates with you guys or you have questions, message on TikTok or Instagram, comment in the comments. Like truly, we're making this because we do want our stories to
Help
help
others.
others and
Yeah.
like create awareness of like
Mhm.
and no two eating disorders look the same.
No.
Like, not even, like, anorexia 1 and anorexia 2,
Yes.
like, our stories are still different.
Yes.
So, keep that in mind, but we are more than happy to, give advice or talk or do whatever, and hopefully, we get to have Deanna
Deanna.
on because
Yes, she
that would
slays.
be amazing. to be
She's
able to
amazing.
have, like, the professional, like, to actually give advice and not just share stories,
Yes,
so
exactly. Well, thank you for tuning in to episode 2. Until next time, be kind to yourself.
and remember, we are all lessons in progress.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I think
We
that was
did it,
good.
I do too.